Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Store shelves are empty of baby formula, and parents are panicking over the shortage. President Biden has now taken emergency measures to resolve the crisis by invoking the Defense Production Act.
Still, it could take weeks before adequate supplies of formula reach grocery stores. Medical reporter Lori Johnson shows us what parents can do in the meantime to keep their babies safe.
Millions of parents are feeling stressed out, angry, and in some cases panicked as they try to find their baby's formula. Colorado mom Ashley Lane, like so many parents, was shocked to discover she might not be able to perform the most basic need, feeding her child.
There was nothing left on the entire shelf. I took a picture and sent it home, and I was like, thank goodness we have a couple cans left.
Her family got busy searching for more.
My sister picked me up some in Arvada yesterday, my dad up in Thornton the other day.
Not everyone has that kind of support, which is where the church can make a difference.
So one of the big questions that we asked ourselves years ago was, if we ever shut our doors as a church, would anybody in the community miss us? And that is really what drives us on a daily basis.
Virginia's Fairfax Church Resource Center regularly provides infant formula and other necessities to needy families. One supplier even had extra baby formula, which the church is giving to anyone else who needs it.
In a time like this where there's a shortage and we have access to the resources, we just want to be a part of solving that problem.
As parents try to solve the situation, health experts warn against taking desperate measures.
Parents should not try to make their own baby formula. It's a very complicated proposition, and you'll only do harm to your child. Similarly, you shouldn't dilute baby formula, same types of issues.
And exercise extreme caution when turning to the internet.
There are unscrupulous people online right now selling baby formula. Maybe it's the real thing, maybe it's not, maybe it's expired, maybe it's counterfeit, and they're price gouging. And my feeling about price gougers is they should be hung up by their thumbs.
Meanwhile, breast milk is in high demand.
Sometimes it does feel like all I do is breastfeed.
Kendall Lane answers the call as a way to serve God. In addition to feeding her own baby, she pumps more of her breast milk and gives it to friends.
You know, in the Bible, it says, to whom much is given, much is required. And so I have been so blessed to be able to provide more than enough. And so I just feel like God has placed it on my heart to be able to help moms in this time specifically.
Kendall also donates to one of the dozens of Himbana banks, Human Milk Bank Association of North America.
Milk banks, we not only screen donors in many different ways, we also analyze, pasteurize, and culture the milk in a microbiology lab, reducing the risk of transmission of disease.
That's why using a certified Himbana milk bank is important when trying to find this nourishment for your child.
Now, in the informally shared arena or sales of the black market per se of human milk sales, you do risk contamination, transmission of viral disease. You also risk exposure to contaminants, such as medications that mothers are taking that they assume are safe for lactation, and they are not.
Parents should consider checking with their pediatrician before accepting an unknown source of breast milk or switching to a different type of infant formula. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Well, hopefully production can come back online and those store shelves can get stocked again. But in the meantime, take Lori's advice. In other news, the stock market suffered its biggest one-day drop since 2020. John Jessup has more on that story from the CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Gordon. The stock news has some analysts fearing a recession could be on the horizon. The Dow plunged more than 1,100 points yesterday, with the S&P 500 losing 4% and the Nasdaq falling nearly 5%. Retailers led the decline, Target blaming high shipping costs for a 24% drop in earnings. Inflation is hitting everyday people as well. The cost of regular gasoline reaching an all-time high today, nearly $4.59 a gallon. Well, here in Washington, the Justice Department announced Supreme Court justices are under 24-hour security after the leaked draft of a decision striking down Roe v. Wade sparked nationwide protests, including outside some of the justices' homes. On Capitol Hill yesterday, Congress held hearings on the impact of overturning Roe. Caitlin Burke reports.
Democrats called Wednesday's hearing a chance to educate Americans on the consequences of overturning Roe v. Wade, while Republicans said it was just another effort by the left to intimidate the high court.
Overturning Roe would remove from women the power to decide the fundamental question of whether to carry or terminate a pregnancy, and instead would give that power to the state.
Representative Jerry Nadler, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, says the nation stands at a constitutional crossroads.
For the first time in its history, the court may be on the precipice of overturning precedent to take away a constitutional right.
But Republicans say this conversation shouldn't be happening because an official ruling from the Supreme Court hasn't yet been released, just a leaked opinion.
We've never had a draft Supreme Court opinion leaked like this before. This dangerous, unprecedented situation is what we should be discussing at this hearing. After all, this committee has oversight over the Supreme Court, and we're charged with making sure that it functions properly.
Republicans calling the hearing an effort to intimidate the high court and further interfere with its process. Democrats dismissed those accusations, quizzing expert witnesses instead on how revoking Roe v. Wade could impact pregnant mothers and even other protected constitutional rights.
Gay marriage is at stake, the ability to adopt if you are gay at stake, interracial marriage at stake. It only takes one local county clerk to say, I disagree.
Catherine Glenn Foster with Americans United for Life was the only pro-life witness.
Ms. Foster, in your opinion, is a child sucking its thumb, knowing if it's left or right-handed, able to feel pain, but not yet delivered from the mother, does that child, to you, represent a human being?
To me and to every embryology textbook out there, yes. If they're not human, what are they?
Candidly and openly calling for a nationwide ban on all abortions with no exceptions for rape or incest. And if I've got that wrong, I would invite Ms. Foster to correct me. Do I have it wrong, yes or no?
If we added rape and incest exceptions, would you vote for it?
Okay, I reclaim my time.
The Supreme Court is expected to issue more opinions today, and the nation is watching and waiting to see if the Roe decision will be one of them. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
Thank you, Caitlin. Turning to the Ukraine, where the United States marked a historic moment Wednesday. Employees raising the flag at the reopening of the American embassy in Kyiv. 3 months ago, the U.S. closed the outpost as Russian forces advanced towards the city. 1 month ago, the Russians withdrew, having failed to capture the capital. Fighting continues in the east, but the southern port city of Mariupol is now in Russian hands. Well, during the worst of the fighting, millions of Ukrainians fled to nearby Poland, including a young girl and her grandmother who found comfort at a refugee home supported by CBN's Orphan's Promise.
When I heard the rockets, I was crying and shaking. We had to hide in the basement. I felt like throwing up.
Barbara lost both her parents when she was only 5 years old. She was living with her grandmother when the war broke out in Ukraine.
I was very afraid for my grandmother because I didn't want to lose her. I don't have anyone else apart from her. I wished my mother was alive. She would have protected us.
The explosions were so powerful and happened so often. We stayed in our basement for 1 month.
The bombing didn't stop, so they decided to flee the country to find safety. Barbara and her grandmother are Christian, so they prayed.
While traveling to Poland, I was so afraid that we would get shot and not make it out of Ukraine alive. But God helped us reach Poland safely.
After they arrived in Poland, they found this refugee home supported by Orphan's Promise and Operation Blessing. They were given shelter, warm beds, food, and other essentials.
I'm so happy to be here. I know God sent these people to help us. They have been really good to us. There's no sound of rockets, and I can also sleep well, without any fear, in a nice bed.
Thanks to the support of our donors, many refugees like Barbara and her grandmother have found a safe place to stay.
I love Jesus because he can help us in any situation and give us joy.
We didn't expect this help. We are so thankful to you for everything.
What a powerful testimony. Gordon, back to you.
That thank you from Barbara goes to you if you're a member of the 700 Club. If you're not a member, I invite you to join with us and join in everything we're doing around the world, whether it's helping refugee children in Ukraine and across the border in Poland, all the various Orphans Promise centers that have been active there for decades. You're a part of all of it when you join the 700 Club. So if that's you and you want to be a part, give us a call, 1-800-700-7000.